So Pilate came out to them and said,
"What charge do you bring against this man?"
They answered and said to him, At this, Pilate said to them,
"Take him yourselves and judge him according to your law."
The Jews answered him, in order that the word of Jesus might be fulfilled, that he said, indicating the kind of death he would die. So Pilate went back into the praetorium and summoned Jesus and said to him,
"Are you the king of the Jews?"
Jesus answered,
You say this on your own, or have others told you about it?
Pilate answered,
"I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priest handed you over to me. What have you done?"
Jesus answered,
My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom did belong to this world, my attendants would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. As it is, my kingdom is not here.
So Pilate said to him,
"Then you are a king."
Jesus answered,
You say I am a king. For this I was born. For this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice.
Pilate said to him,
"What is truth?"
When he had said this, he again went out to the Jews and said to them,
"I find no fault in him, but you have a custom that I release one prisoner to you at Passover. Do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?"
They cried out again, Now Barabbas was a revolutionary. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him scourged. And the soldiers wove a crown out of thorns and placed it on his head, and clothed him in a purple cloak. And they came to him and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they struck him repeatedly. Once more Pilate went out and said to them,
"Look, I'm bringing him out to you, so that you may know that I find no guilt in him."
So Jesus came out, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple cloak. And Pilate said to them,
"Behold the man."
When the chief priests and the guards saw him, they cried out, Crucify him! Crucify him! Pilate said to them,
"Take him yourselves and crucify him. I find no guilt in him."
The Jews answered,
We have no law according to thy law.
Now, when Pilate heard this statement, he became even more afraid, and went back into the praetorium and said to Jesus,
"Where are you from?"
Jesus did not answer him, so Pilate said to him,
"Do you not speak to me? Do you not know that I have power to release you, and I have power to crucify you?"
Jesus answered him,
You would have no power over me if it had not been given to you from above. For this reason, the one who handed me over to you has the greater sin.
Consequently, Pilate tried to release him, but the Jews cried out, When Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus out and seated him on the judge's bench, in the place called Stone Pavement, in Hebrew, Gabbatha. It was the preparation day for Passover, and it was about noon. And he said to the Jews,
"Behold your king."
They cried out.
Take him away, crucify.
Pilate said to them,
"Shall I crucify your king?"
The chief priest answered,
We have no king but Caesar.
Then he handed him over to them to be crucified. So they took Jesus, and carrying the cross himself, he went on out to what is called the place of the skull, in Hebrew, Golgotha. There they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on either side, with Jesus in the middle. Pilate also had an inscription written and put it on the cross. It read, Jesus the Nazarene, the King of the Jews. Now many of the Jews read this inscription, because the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and it was written in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek. So the chief priests of the Jews said to Pilate, Pilate answered,
What I have written, I have written.
When the soldiers had crucified Jesus, they took his clothes and divided them into 4 shares, a share for each soldier. Then they took his tunic, but the tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from the top down. So they said to one another, in order that the passage of Scripture might be fulfilled that says, they divided my garments among them, and for my vesture they cast lots. This is what the soldiers did. Standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary of Magdala. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple there, whom he loved, he said to his mother,
Woman, behold your son.
Then he said to the disciple,
Behold your mother.
And from that hour the disciple took her into his home. After this, aware that everything was now finished, in order that the Scripture might be fulfilled, Jesus said,
I thirst.
There was a vessel filled with common wine. So they took a sponge, soaked in wine, on a sprig of hyssop, and put it on his mouth. When Jesus had taken the wine, he said,
It is finished.
And bowing his head, he handed over the Spirit.
Everyone please kneel. Please stand.
Now, since it was preparation day, in order that the bodies might not remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for the Sabbath day of that week was a solemn one, the Jews asked Pilate that their legs be broken, and that they be taken down. So the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first, and then of the other one who was crucified with Jesus. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. But one soldier thrust his lance into his side, and immediately blood and water flowed out. An eyewitness has testified, and his testimony is true. He knows that he is speaking the truth, so that you also may come to believe. For this happened so that the Scripture passage might be fulfilled. Not a bone of it will be broken. And again, another passage says, they will look upon him whom they have pierced. After this, Joseph of Arimathea, secretly a disciple of Jesus for fear of the Jews, asked Pilate if he could remove the body of Jesus, and Pilate permitted it. So he came and took his body. Nicodemus, the one who had first come to him at night, also came, bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, weighing about 100 pounds. They took the body of Jesus and bound it with burial cloths along with the spices, according to the Jewish burial custom. Now in the place where he had been crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb, in which no one had yet been buried. So they laid Jesus there because of the Jewish preparation day, for the tomb was close by.
The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
May the words of the Holy Gospel wipe away our sins. Now, I know many of you are curious about the ship we have here, the altar of repose. One of the associations I want you to make with that ship is a term that very few of us are familiar with. As you know, I am now standing in the sanctuary. Soon as I step off the sanctuary and into the main part of the church, it has a name. The name is called the nave. Nave is Italian for ship. Now, if you've ever noticed, especially when you have churches that have the arched roof, if you look up above, notice the cross beams. They look very much like the beams you would find in a naval ship of the day that has been turned upside down. People notice that similarity, and that's how it got its name. The nave, as in navy, the ship. So it's very appropriate we have the ship. Reminds us of the Ark of the Covenant. Reminds us of the ship on the Sea of Galilee when Jesus was asleep and calming the raging sea. And that so often happens to Jesus in our life. When we are in turbulent times, Jesus will calm our inner raging sea. Now, at the beginning of John's Gospel, which is slightly different, on Palm Sunday when we heard Luke's version of the Passion, you'll notice that twice Jesus says, I am. In your missalettes, they were all in capital letters. There's a reason for that. In the book of Exodus, when Moses approaches the burning bush, and the voice comes and says, Moses, this is God, I have a mission for you. Go to Egypt and bring my people out. And Moses says, but supposing they're asking me what your name is, what do I tell them? And the response from the burning bush was, Ayir, Ashir, Ayah. I am who I am. Now, every time in the New Testament, Jesus frequently, especially in the Gospel of John, says, I am. He's referring to himself as God. They've come to arrest him. Who are you looking for? Jesus the Nazarene. I am. Jesus is affirming he's not just a human, Jesus the Nazarene. He is the divine God. He says it not once, he says it not twice. Now, there's another reference that's very important. Unfortunately, the crucifix is covered right now. Most every crucifix you see, there's going to be 4 letters above the head of Jesus. The letters I-N-R-I. Remember, you just heard in today's gospel that there was, every time a criminal was executed under Roman law, they provided 2 pieces of information: the name of the criminal and the crime for which he was being executed. The name of the criminal, Jesus of Nazareth; the crime for which he was being executed, King of the Jews. On a traditional crucifix, we have the 4 Latin letters. I-N, Jesus of Nazareth. R-I, King of the Jews. But remember, that was in Latin and Greek and Hebrew. Now, those 4 letters in Hebrew are Y-W-H-W. Yahweh. Ayir, Ayah, Ashir, Ayah. I am who I am. Did you notice in the gospel it says many Jews looked at him? They not only looked at his body on the cross, they looked above his body. And they saw the Y, the W, the H, the W, Yahweh. The chief priests said to Pilate, don't say he was king of the Jews, said he claimed he was king of the Jews. He said he was king of the Jews, because they wanted to get another word there, because they knew what those 4 words, the first letters, would spell. And Pilate says, what I have written, and he says it for a very specific reason, because he wants every Greek and Roman walking by to say, oh, look, they've crucified a weirdo who called himself King of the Jews. How about that? But if a Jew passes by, he would look at the titulus and get the message from Pilate